All right, so for practice test 45, game 1, we have another ordering game. Oh. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we have one afternoon, Patterson meets individually with one of exactly 5 clients, R, S, T, U, and Y. So I'm going to go ahead and write those down to practice putting my pen on paper. So we have R, S, T, U, and Y. And also goes to the gym by herself for her workout. So we're also going to have a W just for Patterson's workout. So W is going to stand for Patterson's workout. Patterson's workout and her 5 meetings each start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put these spots in so we know we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And then the following conditions apply. All right, so we have 6 variables and we have 6 spots. So let's go ahead and start with rule number 1. Patterson meets with S at some point before her own workout. So we know that Patterson is going to meet with S before her own workout. So I'm just going to put a dot under these variables to know that they have a rule constraining them. 2, Patterson meets with T at some time after her workout. So we know from here that it's going to go, so rule number 2 is that she's going to meet with T sometime after her own workout. So instead of actually writing it like I did here, what I would do is just connect this with rule number 1 and put a dash 2. Because we know since it's all connected. So not only does T have to be after W, we also know that W has to be after S as well. So this is going to be rule number 1 and 2. All right, rule number 3. P meets with Y either immediately before or immediately after her workout. So for this one, how I would write it is we know that W and Y have to be right next to each other. So I'm going to draw a block, but we don't know which one goes first. So I'm going to make a little arrow because it could be YW or it could be WY. We're not sure. We just know that they're going to take up 2 spots right next to each other. And so in regards to our first rule here, what we could do is I would just add in right here, and I would make a Y. So I now know that S has to go before Y, S has to go before W, and S has to go before T. Or vice versa, we know that T has to go after S, and T has to go after Y, and T has to go after W. All right, so then rule number 4 is Peterson meets with U at some time before she meets with R. So that's pretty simple. It's just U and then R. So just a couple questions quick. Who could go first in this game? So we're looking for anybody that doesn't have anybody to the left of them. And so really the only 2 people that can go first in this game are S and U. Something to consider. And who can go last in this game? The only people that can go last in this game are T and R because everybody else has to have someone else that's coming after them. So that's just something to think about. All right, so let's go ahead and start with question number 1. It says, which of the following could be an acceptable schedule of Patterson's workout from 1 to 6? So what I do is I just use this as an opportunity to reread my rules. And I cross off which ones that are constraining. So 1 says Peterson meets with S at some time before her workout. So I'm looking for this right here where it's S and then W in all of these answer choices. So if it doesn't happen, I cross it off. So in number 1, we don't have S and then W. We actually have the opposite. So that can't be our answer, and I'm going to cross it off. Rule number 2 is that is this W before T rule. So I'm going to look for W before T, which doesn't happen in rule B because we have T and then we have W. So I'm going to cross that off. All right, so for number 3, this is the one that Y and W have to be next to each other, which doesn't happen in C. So I would cross that off. And then lastly, we have this one here that is just U before R, which does not happen in D, but happens in E. So our answer is going to be E. All right, for number 2, how many of the clients are there, any of which whom could meet with Patterson at 1 o'clock? So we're looking for which variables could actually go here. So who could go first? I actually kind of hinted at this at the beginning. So who do we know can go first? Well, if you think about it logically, can T go first? No. Can Y or W go first? No. Can R go first? No, because U has to go before it. So the only ones that can go first are S and U. So our answer is going to be B2. All right. Number 3, Patterson cannot meet with you at which of the following times? So in our diagram here, so I'll draw another one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're trying to determine when can you not go. All right, so what we know about you is that it has to go before R. So where can you not go? Well, I know you can't go in 6, but I doubt we get so lucky that that's an answer, which we don't. So what I would do is I would use brute force for this, and I would plug and chug and see what happens. The one that I would not check here is actually I would not check A or E very quickly or towards the beginning, because I know that you can go at 1 o'clock, and I know that you for sure can go in 5 just from thinking about the rules, that U just has to go before R, and then this whole chain of S, Y, W, T, which he's going back and forth, fits pretty easily. So it's really easy to cross those two off. And now if I'm going to choose which answer choice I want to try between these, I'm probably going to go with the one that's most likely to not work. And I'm guessing that this question is hinting at this idea of understanding that Y and W have to be next to each other and that we don't want to break them up. So I'm going to go ahead and try 3 o'clock. So if I put Y in at 3 o'clock, or U, I'm sorry, if I put U in at 3 o'clock, what happens? Well, I know if S then has to be first, followed by Y and W, but they have to be right next to each other. After Y and W and U, I know there has to be R and there has to be T. But there's nowhere to put Y and W together without breaking it up, so that's why U cannot be third. If you wanted to see quickly, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what happens if we put U in 2 or U in 4? I'll just fill this out. So if U was in 2 at 2 o'clock, like in this first one, it would just go SU, Y, W, which these two going back and forth. And then it could just be RT, however. And then in the second option here, or the 4 o'clock option, these would just be R and T, either way. And then it would start off with S, Y, W, with these going back and forth. So that's how we know that 4 and 2 both work. And that's why. All right, so let's go on to the next question, which is, if P meets with S the hour before she meets with Y, then each of the following could be true except. So we're looking for the one that could not happen. So 4 of our answer choices are going to be could be true, so that means that it could happen, and 1 could never happen, and we're looking for the one that could never happen. So let's make sure we understand what this is saying. It says if P meets with S the hour before she meets with Y. So what this means is she's meeting with S right before Y. So this is going to be a block. You're going right next to each other. Now I want to think about, what does this trigger in my other rules? Well, what do we know about y? We know that it has to be right next to w. So we know that w now is going to go right here. And this is all going to be a block that these three have to go next to each other no matter what. So what does this mean in regards to the rest of our rules? It just means that we know that t has to come after this at some point, and that u has to come before r. We don't know if u goes here, we don't know if u goes here, but we just know that this is a block and the rest of the things are happening. So let's go ahead and see which one could never happen. So A, P meets with R at 2 o'clock. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could R go here? Absolutely, because we could go U, R, S, Y, M, T. So we'll just cross that off. All right, B, P meets with Y at 3. Could this happen? Well, we know that we have to fill in our 3 block, which would be this right here. U could come before it, and then this could be R and T respectively. So B could be true, and so we're going to cross it off. All right, third, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have P meets with T at 4 o'clock. Well, this one's pretty easy because we know that's just going to be S, Y, W, T, and then U, R. So that works. So we'll cross C off. And then lastly, P meets with Y at 5 o'clock. Ooh, but does this one work? Well, we need to make sure that we put our 3 block in there. So we have S, Y, W. We need to put U and R sometime up here. But the problem is we don't have anywhere for T to go, since this is 6 o'clock right here, and we need T to be after them. So this could never happen, which is why D is going to be our answer. But just to show us why E works as well, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. P works with T at 6. So it doesn't really matter how we fill in our block. This, honestly, just to show you 2 different examples of how it could be true. You do not need to do this on the test. But we could put S, Y, W here, or we could put S, Y, W here, and then it would be U, R, U, R. So this could be true. So it's not E, which leaves us with D. All right. Next up, we have number 5. So if Patterson meets with T at 4, then which of the following must be true? So it must be true means that it happens no matter what, like guaranteed 100%. So we're going to go ahead and just plug it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If Patterson meets with T at 4 o'clock, what must be true? So let's look at our rules. And does this trigger anything? Well, yeah, because we only have 3 spots before T. And so who must fill those spots? We know number 1 has to be S, but this is where we need to be careful with this Y and W, because Y and W could go back and forth. We just know they take up those spots. And then we're going to know that this is U and R, because U has to go before R. So even before reading these answer choices, I'm going to make the prediction that it's going to ask us about S being in 1, U being in 5, or R being in 6, because those are the only ones that we have in a solid spot. The reason that this doesn't work, Y and W, is because there's 2 spots that it could be. So Y must not be in 2 or Y must not be in 3, because it could be in either one of these spots. So let's look at these answer choices. P meets with R at 5. Well, no, because we have U in at 5, so that's not even could be true. B, P meets with U at 5. Oh, I like this one because we have U solidly in there. Let's see, P meets with Y at 2. Well, yes, look at this. This is a tricky there, but does Y have to be at 2? No, because Y could also be at 3. That's not C. D, P meets with Y at 3. Well, this is the same reason. Just like Y doesn't have to be at 2, it also doesn't have to be at 3. So that's a pretty easy one for us to cross off. And then lastly, P's workout is at 2. Well, this is the same thing. We're looking at this W right here. Oh, it erased a lot, but we had a W here. And W does not have to be at 2 or 3 because it could go in either spot. So our answer is going to be B. All right, last question. Which of the following could be the order of Patterson's meaning from the earliest to latest? So this question is almost exactly like the first one, but we're just taking out the W, so her own workout. So I would handle this one just like I did the first one question, and I would just use my rules here and cross off what cannot be true. So 1, meets with S. Oh, that one doesn't matter because it's for her own workout. So 2. So I'm actually not going to go through these rules because they all conclude her workout, and I'm really going to pay attention to what we drew right here, which is S, and then Y, and then her workout, and then T, and U and R. So what I'm going to pay attention to is I need to find something that has S before Y and S before T. So if it doesn't have it before both of those, I'm going to cross it off. So in 1, we do not, S is not before Y, so it's wrong. 2, S is before Y and T, so that one's okay so far. And then it's also okay in the rest because it has S in the last place. Another really easy rule to check is U before R. So it's okay in B, but it's not okay in C, so I'm going to cross it off. It's okay in D, and it's okay in E. All right, next I'm going to check this part of the rule where it's Y is before T. So that doesn't work in B because we have Y last, so I'm going to cross this off. And then I'm also going to cross off D because it has T before Y, so that doesn't work. And so E is going to be our answer. All right, I hope you all found this helpful.